Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to my lovely platform where I go over algebra concepts that you generally see in the GED, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, and the TEAS test. So, my name is Audrey Codner, and I am the owner of Math by Audrey. So, what we do here is we just look at some of the questions that you generally see on those said exams, and we just start breaking it down step by step. So, let's take a look at this one. What is the sixth term in the sequence? Negative 14, negative 8, negative 2, 4. What would be the sixth term? Since we already have the first four, what would be the sixth? So would it be A, 10, B, 14, C, 16, D, 22? And if you think you know what the answer is, come on over and go ahead and just put your answer in the comments. But if you're not quite sure, you can put a question mark. Okay? So in Dojo, I see you with A. Thank you. Catastrophe. Okay, I see you with C. Larson, thank you for your 10. Callie West, I see you with your 10. Okay, just clocked in. All right, well, thank you. Okay, Mir, I see you, but low-key forgot how to do it. Okay, not a problem. Okay, Z, I see you. All right. All right, Spence, I see you. Thank you so much. Okay, Callie, I saw you the last couple times. I still see you now. It's okay. All right, thanks for the follow. Good morning. Beauty is her name. Good morning to you. All right. Okay, so now let's take a look at our sequence here. So we have negative 14 to negative 8. So I need to figure out if I went from negative 14 to negative 8, that's going to be adding 6. Okay? Because if I think of it, 14 minus 6, that will give me my 8. So from negative 8 to negative 2, I'll put it up here. In order for me to go from negative 8 to negative 2, that means I'm adding 6. And then from negative 2 to positive 4, that means I have to add 6. So if I do, I can continue on with that pattern. Okay? So since we're going to the sixth term, we already got to the fourth, that means I need to the fifth one. So that means in order for me to go from 4 to something else, I have to add 6. So that means from 4 to 6, this will be, my next term will be 10. And notice that's one of the options. But that's going to be our fifth term. So now I need to repeat it once more, plus 6. So that will give me my 16th term, which is option C. Okay? All right? Okay? So, I know if you're taking, say, the GED, the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, the TEAS test, you're trying to find the patterns. But what happens if they take it to another level? So, algebraically, you will have your first term, okay? Then you'll have the term that you want to get to, and then it was your AN, I'm trying to remember them right here off the top of my head, which is dangerous, okay, times our, what is called our common difference. So this is an arithmetic sequence, okay? So for our arithmetic sequence, we are looking at the adding of our sequence, okay? We're looking for adding. So I think it was this minus 1, and it's times our D, if I wasn't too sure. But I'm going to check on that because it's been a minute since I did arithmetic sequence. So, actually, because we haven't done it yet, kids are just going back to school. N minus 1, so this should be just n, not a. Okay, not too bad. I was close to it. Okay, so it's whatever the term is minus 1. The a sub 1 is always the start of the sequence. So if it was negative 14, we're trying to get to the 6th term, and we know that the pattern was 6. Okay, so that means you have your 6 minus 1, that gives you 5, and there should be a plus sign in between. So you have your negative 14 plus your 5, and then 5 times your d, which is our 6. So then 5 times 6, order of operations, gives you 30. And 30 plus that negative 14, or just 30 minus 14, will give you your 16. So for the person that said, how did we do it algebraically? This is how. Okay? All right. So now, let's go to the next one. Okay, which value of x makes the inequality x greater than 400 true? Okay. So we have 7 to the 3rd power, 4 to the 4th power, 3 to the 6th power, or 6 to the 3rd power. So since we have 7 to the 3rd power, that means 7 times 7 times 7. So I know 7 times 7 gives me 49. So even if I multiply that 49 by 7, it's not going to be greater than 400. Okay? It's definitely not going to be greater than 400. So I think it's going to be around like 343. Okay? 4 to the 4th power, extended out, gives us 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. And I know that 4 times 4 gives me 16, so we're looking at 16 squared. So 16 times 16, that gives me 256. Okay, Austin is saying C, thank you. Because we have 3 multiplied to itself 6 times. Okay, so I know that 3 times 3 times 3 gives me 27. So you have 27 here, and you have 27 here. So that's the same as saying 27 squared. So that gives us 729. Okay, and then for your 6's, I know 6 times 6 gives us 36, and 36 times 6 will give me 216. So your answer is going to be C. But here's the thing. Here's a quicker way of looking at it. Yes, these bases are large, but they're only being multiplied to itself at a low amount. Whereas this base is a small base, but it's being raised to a 6th power. That means it's being multiplied to itself 6 times. So obviously, anything with a larger exponent, okay, if you look at the exponents, this has the largest exponent. They usually give you the largest result. Okay, so when you see that, that could be one of your little shortcuts that a lot of people like to do. But if you need to extend it out and actually do the multiplication, have fun. But remember, you're only given a minute if you're doing the ASVAB, and a minute and 10 seconds per question if you're doing, say, the GED or any high school equivalency test. Okay? Hey, Brenda. So now we want to know, I have to extend this up, what is the positive solution for the equation? So the equation is 2x squared minus 7x minus 30 equals 0. Okay? So anytime, and we want to know the positive, the only positive solution. So we either have 5, 6, 7, or 8. So we can do this one of two ways. We can either substitute these numbers in for the x, or we can do what's called factoring. Okay? I kind of like doing the factoring. Why not? We got time. So, first off, the reason why I'm using factoring because my degree is to the second power. Anytime I see something to the second power and that's the highest exponent, that means factoring has to be involved. And when you're doing factoring, which is the distributive property in reverse, we have to first see, do we have a GCF? Is there anything other than 1 that 2, 7, and 30 have in common? Okay, notice I'm not using the signage, just the numbers themselves. So, do they have anything other than 1? Do they have anything else in common? Okay, there's a lot of people probably doing this. Alright, so the answer will be no. So they don't have anything other than 1 in common. So now I need to think. So we can do my A, my B, and my C. Because right now, that equation is written in standard form. The A is always what's in front of the x squared. The B is what's in front of the x. And the C is your constant. So if we multiply the A and the C, that's 2 times negative 3, that gives me negative 60. And we rewrite the B, which is a negative 7. So we need to think. Okay, right. So we need to think, what two numbers multiply will give me negative 60, and those same two numbers add together to give me a negative 7. Okay. Alright. What do you think? So what two numbers multiply will give me negative 60 and add together to give me a negative 7? Okay, so Brenda, if I add 10 and 6, would I get 7? And thank you for trying. Okay, no, right. Okay, so let's take a look. So if you add my handy dandy factor chart, we got here at 60. So these are the factors of 60. So you got 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, and 6 and 10. So we already know that 6 and 10, and one of these has to be negative because remember, we're looking for a negative 60. So if you do 15 and 4, if you add 15 and 4 together, okay, if I add them together, and if one of them is negative, so if I made the 4 negative, 15 minus 4 gives me 11, not negative 7. If I made the 15 negative, I still get a negative 11. Okay? 5 and 12. If I make the 5 negative, 12 and 5 will give me a positive 7. So that means the 12 has to be negative, because we have negative 12 and positive 5. Because if we're doing two numbers to multiply to give me a negative 60, and then the same two numbers add together will give me a negative 7. Okay? Now that we have that part, we're going to put our two parentheses. I'm going to put it over here, just give myself some room. And it's going to equal 0. So I split my x's. And then I write the two factors that we just found. And since that's a positive 5, we put plus 5. So now, our leading coefficient, our a, we need to divide both of these by our a. This is called the divide and slide. So, negative 12 divided by 2, that can be divided. So we're just going to go ahead and divide, which gives us a negative 6. So over here, 5 divided by 2, that's going to give me a decimal. So if it gives me a decimal, then I slide in front of the x. So that will give me 2x plus 5. Okay, so now it's completely factored. But they want only the positive solution. So I know if I did this one, I would have to subtract 5 on both sides. So that's going to give me a negative number. Plus, it's not going to give me a whole number. So it looks like I just need to focus on this parenthesis here. So I need to know what's going to make this, what number for x is going to make this equation equal to 0. Well, the only thing that it will equal to 0 is going to be 6. Because 6 minus 6 will give me 0. So you can add 6 on both sides and you will get x is equal to 6. Okay. Alright. And the only reason why we just did one of the parentheses instead of both is because they only wanted the positive solution. This one, if I subtract 5 on both sides and then divide by 2, I would get a negative 5/2. They don't want the negative solution. They wanted the positive. All right. So if you like these, so these are part of my practice exams. Yeah, they're all part of my practice exams, and you can find the link in my profile. So, a number divided by 2 is equal to 12 less than the original number. What is the number? Is it A, 12, B, 20, C, 24, or D, 28? So what do you think? Where do you start? how do we translate this? Well, bombs, let's see, what's 24? Mono, see you. Can you join? You're joining. Okay. So GH. Okay, you think it's 24? Okay, so you think it's C? Alright, yep, I got you. Alright, so let's translate. Say a number divided by 2. Okay, we don't know what that number is. So let's say x is representing that number. Okay, is equal to equal sign. Alright, so we break it up into sections. Okay, now we're at 12 less than the original number. So it doesn't say is less than, it says less than. So that's going to be subtraction. So you should not have an equal sign or an inequality at the same time. Okay? Now, is 12 less than the original number? So my original number is going to be x. Okay? Because we didn't know what that is. So if we're saying 12 less than the original number, that means that 12 is taking on that minus sign. Okay. So we can take this one of two ways. Once you have it set up, you could use your answer choices to fill in for the x's to see which one works. Or we can also do it algebraically. So first off, we want to get rid of this fraction. This fraction is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. But what are we going to multiply on both sides? Whatever your denominator is. So what happens here is 2 divided by 2 will give me 1x, or I could just simply write x. And then here, I can multiply everything by 2. So now you have 2x minus 24. So we have x's on both sides of the equal sign. So now I want to put my x's over here since I have a solid constant right here. So that means this 2x needs to come to the other side of the equal sign. Now, I am not going to add the 2x because I see a minus sign here. No. This minus sign is acting as a negative for the 24, not the 2x. There we go. So that means we are subtracting the 2x on both sides. So 1 minus 2x, or 1 plus a negative 2x, that gives me a negative 1x. Then I can bring down my negative 24. So now from here, divide both sides by negative 1. That means x is going to equal 24. Because a negative divided by a negative gives us a positive. Okay, yes, we're always doing the inverse. Good. All right. Questions? Okay, so once you got your equation, if you wanted to fill in, okay, if I plug the 2 in for the x, 12 for the x, 12 divided by 2 will give me 6. If I put a 12 here, 12 minus 12 will give me 0. you have a 6 equals 0? No, that can't happen. If I have my 20 divided by 2, that will give me 10. If I did 20 minus 12, that will give me 8. 10 doesn't equal 8. So you can do 24 divided by 2, that gives me 12. And 24 minus 12, that gives me 12. 12 and 12, that's your answer. So if you're not too comfortable with at least the algebra, especially when you're taking the test, that's another way. But you had to know how to set up the equation in order for that to work. Okay? All right. So I want to do one percentage problem. Okay, and then we are done for today. Okay, so the price of gas rose from $4.50 to $5.40 in 1 month. Okay, by what percentage did the gas price rise? Situated here. So we're looking at percentage increase, and you will definitely see this in the GED or any high school equivalency test, as well as the ASVAB. Okay, they love age questions, they love percentage questions, as well as distance, rate, and time questions. So first off, is this an increase or a decrease? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Is this an increase or a decrease? Okay. GH, I see you. Kelly, I see you. Okay. Username 009, I see you. Thank you. Okay. So you're basically going from 450 to 540. So that's an increase. So the way that you would actually set it up, and I think a lot of people have different ways. I like to keep with the new minus the old divided by the old, and you're going to multiply that by 100. And the reason why I'm multiplying by 100 is so we can get the percentage. Okay, Beauty is her name, I see you, and Brenda, I see you. Thank you. Now, some people like to do the absolute value of this because this is always going to be positive. But since it's an increase, we don't have to worry too much about the absolute value because that answer is going to be positive. So we set up with our 540. Okay, minus the old, which was, it was at 450. Okay, divided by what the old price was, which is 450. And then what you get, you multiply by 100. So we can get that percentage. Okay. Now, 540 minus 450 gives me what? No, it's 120. Just double check your stuff, Brenda. So we have $5.40 and $4.50. So that's going to be 90 cents. And that's going to be divisible by 450. Okay, there you go, Kelly. Thank you. So now, if we're dividing, and the reason why I'm doing it manually, because there are some exams you cannot have a calculator. So you got to practice the way that you are being assessed. So we can't have a decimal in the divisor. So we have to move it over 2 places to the right to make it into a whole number. Same thing has to happen here in your dividend. So now you're trying to divide. So how many 450s can go into 90? Yeah, none. But how many 450s can go into 900? 2. Because 450 times 2 is exactly the 900. So now you have that 0.2. So now if I have to do the percentage, I can either multiply this by the 100, or since we know that 100 has 2 zeros, that means we're going to move this decimal place over 1, 2. And in this space, we add a 0. So 0.20 is the same as 20%. Okay, so it's not going to be 0.2, it will be 0.20%. Okay. All right. So in order for it to be 2%, that would be 0.02. So in order for it to be 2%, if you had almost like 2 cents, 2 cents, that's 2%. Because that's basically 2 over 100. Okay, 20%. And a lot of people generally get these mixed up. Okay, perfect. No problem. Okay. Alrighty. I think everyone's slowly going back to school, which is good. So I might have to switch my times, but we'll see how it is. We're going to play it out for the rest of the week. So again, if you need any assistance, and if you're thinking about, you know, trying to get your GED, trying to get the ASVAB, the Accuplacer, again, all of my replays are here. And if you click the link that's in my profile, you'll be able to get to it a lot quicker. Let me see if I can get to my...
I don't know how I feel about it. I'd be scared to see it, and then if I... Well, anyway, if ever you want to do a second aid update...
Gotta love those. Okay, so if you follow me on the profile, so right here at the bottom where it says Stand Store, okay, so now you can, if you scroll just a little bit, right here will be my YT, so you can actually get all of the recordings that I have. All my morning recordings are there, so go ahead, you can subscribe there if you want, see a couple of our shorts, see what's taking off. But then as you can see, we have our TikTok lives uncut. It is what it is. Okay, so here was yesterday's, just in case you missed it. Now if you also are like, look, I need to practice up on my skills, you can try my free math checkup just to see where you're at. It hits on all the concepts that is actually going to be on your GED and the ASVAB exam. So see how you do. If there are certain topics that you're just like, yeah, I need practice on, if you want to, you can talk to me about tutoring, or you can go to a lot of my digital books that you can get. So this is my Algebra at Your Pace. So it talks on all the concepts, so you can get the individual books, and it all goes from like linear equations to factoring. So if there was that part that you didn't understand with factoring, that means volume 7, 8 will be perfect for you. And then you just keep going with the geometric functions as well as statistics and probability. And then if you want, I also have bundles. So here's my starter bundle. Then we have the foundation bundle, which goes a little bit deeper. And some of these include practice books, okay? And then I also have some that has the video answer keys. Okay, so if you want to do any of those, go ahead and peruse through. And if you have questions about anything on here, just let me know. Okay, just send me a DM. All right, so again, if you just follow me here, and then you can just go straight to the Stand Store, click on that, and it will take you right straight here. And if you're wondering where do I go for my YT account, you can just go right here at the take you right straight here. And if you're wondering where do I go for my YT account, you can just go right here. So the 90 is when you subtract the 540 minus the 450. That's where the 90 came from. Okay. All right. All right, everyone. So I will see you guys sometime tomorrow morning, and have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon. Bye now.